The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Diego Castro, bringing you the biggest headlines from around the world. The UN Security Council's vote on boosting aid deliveries to Gaza has been delayed another day. The Council will hold off the vote amid ongoing talks to avoid a third U.S. veto of action over the war. The 15-member Council was initially going to vote on a resolution which would demand Israel and Hamas allow and facilitate deliveries of aid throughout Gaza. However, diplomats say the U.S. wants to tone down language that, quote, calls off the urgent suspension of hostilities to allow safe humanitarian access and for urgent steps towards sustainable cessation of hostilities. The U.S. and Israel opposed a ceasefire, saying it will only benefit Hamas. Washington instead supports pauses in fighting to protect civilians and release of hostages by Hamas. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says the military has asked for an additional 450,000 to 500,000 people to be mobilized into the army. Zelensky said he would need more arguments from the military to support the request, adding that top military and government officials were due to discuss the issue before it is put before the parliament. Zelensky said that conducting a mobilization at such a scale would require additional financing. Funding for Ukraine has been held up recently in both the US and European Union amid political tussles as Ukraine fends off a full-scale Russian invasion. Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow is open to discussions with Kyiv, the US, and Europe regarding the future of Ukraine. Putin, however, emphasized that Moscow would staunchly defend its national interests. The Russian leader has repeatedly said that he would be prepared to talk about peace, though Western officials suggest he may be awaiting the US presidential election in November before making a sincere effort. Russia currently controls about 17.5% of the territory internationally recognized as part of Ukraine since the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 and Russia's claim to 4 additional regions of Ukraine have escalated tensions, with Kyiv asserting its determination to remove all Russian soldiers from Ukrainian territory.
История все расставит на свои места. Мы мешать не будем, но свою не отдадим. Вот что все должны понять. И в Украине, те, кто агрессивно настроен в отношении России, и в Европе, и в Соединенных Штатах.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now World. I'm Diego Castro. North Korea says it tested a new missile to gauge its war readiness against mounting U.S. hostility. Leader Kim Jong-un reportedly watched the launch of Hwasong-18 intercontinental ballistic missile at site east of Pyongyang. State media quoted Kim as saying that the launch sends a clear signal to the hostile forces who have fanned up their reckless military confrontation hysteria. This comes after the U.S. and South Korea increased the intensity of their joint military drills against threats from the north. At least 118 people were killed after a 6.2 magnitude earthquake jolted northwest China on Tuesday. An eyewitness video showed the quake's extensive destruction, with streets lined with rubble and crushed vehicles. One village in the region was also left half buried after the quake triggered a landslide. Aside from those who died, hundreds of others were also injured. Authorities have mobilized an array of emergency responses. However, rescue work has proved challenging in sub-zero temperatures, with most of China grappling with below freezing conditions. Let's now take a quick look at other world stories we're watching. French lawmakers approve a contested immigration bill, with both houses of parliament giving their final approval to stricter provisions. This would reduce welfare payments for foreigners in particular. The lava from a volcano in Iceland continued to spew upwards on Tuesday but had lost some of its power. However, the country's meteorological office remained cautious, advising that gas pollution could still affect the capital city of Reykjavik. And Blue Origin's suborbital New Shepard rocket lifted off in its first mission since a failure last year led to a 15-month grounding. It soared to space for a few minutes before its rocket booster returned back to land. And those are the top world headlines of the hour. Join us again at 9:45 a.m. as we continue to monitor the day's biggest stories. I'm Diego Castro, here One News. All sides, all the time.